Hi, it's Rachel. I want to share with you a little bit about how to fuel your faith. And these are things that I'm learning as always, and I want to share them with you. And our faith is very significant. If you look at and reflect on your life, there are times when you can feel very discouraged and frustrated where you don't think things are going the right way, maybe they're not going the right way. And that whole realm of thought is very draining to how you feel. It's very hard to get motivated, it's very difficult to operate in a stream of being guided by the love of God when you're feeling like there is such an absence of it. And this is what our faith is really about. It is learning to operate in trust in the love of God that is coming through our soul. I mentioned before that God enters into our reality through our soul. And that is why we have to be in a condition in our soul to meet with Him, why we have to start bringing in alignment our life and who we are in alignment with who God's character is, in the sense of being purified and pure and thinking in the right way and acting in the right way, because that just allows Him to flow through us. For Him to flow through us, we have to be in harmony with Him. Because if we're thinking in thoughts contrary to the way He is, it's very difficult for us to act in according to His ways, because we're doing the opposite. So it's about coming into harmony with His Spirit. So we have to get our soul in a condition, our mind in a condition, and that's what He does as we spend time with Him. He counsels, He instructs us, because that's what He wants to do. Because it allows for this flow of love and everything of His Spirit that contains to flow through us and into our reality, into our lives, into the lives of others. So our faith is trusting in that working in our life of the Spirit of God in us and through us, versus looking at what we see and letting that determine our action, our response, our words. So instead of what we do in our decisions coming from the outside in, it's more like we see what's going on outwardly, and it comes through the filter of coming through what's inward. And actually, that's what we all do anyway. But a lot of times, what people do is they are so bound up in images and fears that that filtering process of what they see out here as it comes through, it causes them to be very reactive and actually just causing more problems, okay, in the external. So it's very important to have your soul developing and growing and maturing in the ways of the Heavenly Father, which are always grounded in this pure love. So that's where your faith is. So a couple of things that I've been learning about this faith that really fuels it, because as I said, when you are living in lack, okay, and lack is overtaking basically your thoughts, it's very draining. You can't find it feels like you don't have the energy to do what you need to do. Okay, and you certainly understand this if you've been depressed. If you've been depressed, it's like you have no energy for life. Okay, it's like the life force, the life energy has been sucked out of you. And so that has a big ripple effect in your life. Obviously, because you're just not motivated to do things, you have a lack of care, and that creates a certain ripple effect. So when you start having faith in God's presence in your life, okay, in His love for you, that's how He comes to us in His love. That's why the only way that we can come to the Heavenly Father is through His love. Not our tainted, corrupted love that's full of lust and fears and control and manipulation and abuse and all these things, okay, and dishonor. But His love is so, so pure. So in order to meet God, we have to come to Him in that purity, which means, but that's the thing, that love, as we draw near to Him and we desire to love Him and others, that desire starts pushing out the sin and the error out of our lives. Because as you start to walk in what's loving, you're no longer doing the things that aren't. So the love itself starts to purify you and get you into that condition, but you have to really desire to walk into it because it's voluntary. No one can make that choice for you. You have to choose to love. That's why you've been given a free will, is to make that choice. And when you choose that for God, it becomes so powerful. So that your heavenly, perfect, spiritual parent that created you, He only meets you in love because He loves you. And so for you to come to Him, you had to come to Him desiring that love. That's the only way you connect to Him. And that's exactly what Jesus Christ taught. It is through a new birth, which means having that divine love of the Father in you, that love in you and a part of that love. Because it's, as I said, it consumes your natural love, but it's higher than that. Because this divine love can guide you in ways that nothing else can, because it's full of His wisdom. So also when you're bringing in that divine love, what you're also saying is that you're bringing in the wisdom and the mind of God operating into your life. So this divine love is very, very powerful because it contains the characteristics and the nature of God, okay, on a very real level, to where we start to experience the substance of those things. Not just an image, not just a concept, but a very substance of those things. So when our faith is in His love, which is the only thing that is really real, then it becomes very powerful in our life, and it's very real, and it creates an energy in your life that produces incredible effects, okay, in your life, in your body, in your interactions, because you're coming in your interactions with trusting in that divine love. Therefore you're acting in alignment with it, and so that's how you're acting in every situation. And let me tell you, when you are acting out of that in every situation, then there is nothing better that you could do in that situation than to come from that place. So it's coming from within out, but it's coming from that place of being connected to the Heavenly Father in your soul. That's how He manifests Himself to us, is by connecting, when we connect to Him in this divine love, by willing to be changed by it, by choosing it, by choosing its ways and how it works and how it thinks and how it functions in our life. By choosing that, that's how we see the manifestation of God's presence and His character in our lives. It's the only way to connect, because it makes us into a new creation. And it's very real. And when you take time to think about this, or you've really understood or started to walk in love, you understand its changing power in your life. Okay, so when you have faith in these two things, one, that love of God is what's truly real. Okay, and anything else outside of that love is not. That means everything created out of false images, false beliefs, lies, fears, because you know what? All those are passing away. And all those are simply created out of man's mind that is lacking this connection to God. That's what it creates. So it's all unreal, because what's real is God's care for you and His love for you, and the ability for that love to manifest in your life. But you have to be willing to connect to it, because love is always voluntary. Okay? So when you have that faith and understanding that that love is what's truly real and all these other things are unreal, the fear, the suffering, because even though you may be experiencing that in your life, it's based on unreal truths, unreal principles that were sown in a mind that lacked understanding and in a reality that lacked understanding. So that's the other thing, is when you're working in the faith out of that love of God, you have a great impact for good on your circumstances, on your reality, to change that reality. The reality is not set, it is changeable. And sometimes we don't believe that because it seems so overwhelming with all that's happening in it. But it is. And that's how it is. And it's the most powerful, impactful way to do it, is start coming in alignment with that divine love. That's why you want to spend that time getting to know, what does that look like in my life? What does that reflection look like in me, and how I honor myself, how I honor other people, the decisions that I make, the choices that I make, how I do my work, how I relate to other people. Because when you start understanding that, you're going to start understanding the power of God flowing into your life. The other one that I want to touch on is that, just what I mentioned before, is that God is right here with you. His love is right here always. But again, the only way that you can realize that and it become your reality is if you come to him in love. It can't be through ceremonies, it can't be through rituals, it can't be through static prayers without the heart longing and the soul longing. It can't be through any habitual, just mindless activities, or institutions or organizations or specific teachers. The way you come to him is you meet him one-on-one in desiring to abide in that love. And when you do, you realize he is right there, because that love starts counseling you and guiding you, and you see that you start walking in it and you see the perfection of his ways. It's like having the most amazing counselor you could ever want all the time with you, who loves you more than anyone loves you. And his ability to change and to mold and to shape your life is absolutely extraordinary. So if these two aspects will fuel that faith, so that creates a synergy and energy in your life that is very powerful in terms of your body, okay, and even in its own healing, because it's creating harmony. The reason that there's so much illness is because there's disharmony. So when you start getting in harmony with love and with truth, you start experiencing a level of energy and a level of faith, and just it's so powerful in your life, okay, and what it creates, because love is the creative energy of harmony. Okay, so the only reason that we're have the problems we do is because we're disharmony, whether it's in our physical health or is in our relationships, our situations, or with our work. There's disharmony there. And the element to create harmony is that love, because that's what it does. That's why that's so important for in our free will to always choose that, because in that we're being made into creations that can live in eternity with God, because we're in harmony and we're no longer hurting and self-destructing, okay, and pulling apart. That can't happen in eternity. Okay, that's why it's eternity and not chaos. There's a beauty and a perfection in it, and it is the love that is the active energy or force, or whatever you want to call it, that creates that. So when you can get in connection with that, with the Heavenly Father who created you, and can work in your soul and let every aspect of your being be governed by that divine love, which is that perfect wisdom, then you are going to be creating a beautiful reality for yourself and for others.